Hello, everyone. Welcome to the NFL Week 3 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. The road to 272 bets marches on. I'm sitting here watching the Chargers against the Raiders, hoping and praying the Raiders can cover, because whether or not I have a profitable week from week 2 will come down to this game. Just had to win one of 2 games tonight to finish with a profit after cashing in on the Falcons as plus 187 moneyline underdogs last night. And unfortunately, the Texans looked like they had it, and then, of course, let the Buccaneers score with, 6 seconds left in the game they scored. So that was a heartbreaker. And now I need the Raiders to cover, and the Chargers are about to, they have 1st and 5 deep in Raiders territory. So they're going to score of some sort and take the lead here. It's 3-3 right now. So it is what it is. Every single year, I keep saying it, but it's true. It's crazy. And this is why the NFL is so popular and why, the product is so good. It's insane how many games every single week, not only just to decide the spread, but to decide the winner too, sometimes both, comes down to the last drive of the game. And people wonder why it's hard to win money long-term betting on the NFL. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to 1 or 2 plays on a last drive for whether or not you win your bet. You could have something go for you like it did for me with Bryce Young late in the game against the Panthers. He converted like a 4th and long to keep the drive alive, went down and got the backdoor cover for the touchdown. Or also for me on the flip side of things, you could have Texans finally covering and then allow like an 80-yard drive in the final minute to for a game-losing touchdown. So generally over the long term, you think and hope and assume that the coin flip endings will go half your way and half against you. And the Chargers just scored a touchdown, so that's good. Perfect. So I will likely be down 7 and 9 for minus 1.64 units is what I will end up when the Raiders don't cover here. I don't have my total record in front of me. I'll add it at the end of the show if this game is over by then, or I'll have it written in the written version of my article for the road to 272 tomorrow. So back-to-back losing weeks is not ideal to start the season, but we march on. We got 16 weeks to go, and certainly, 7 and 9 record with a, big plus money winner last night in the Falcons. It certainly could have ended a lot worse. I have all my bets locked in for week 3, except for I keep waiting for the lines to come out for Texans, Jaguars, and Jets, Buccaneers. I already bet on the games involving the Chargers and the Raiders because I just can't stay up this late to wait for this game to finish and then wait for the odds to come out with the games involving these 2 teams and then finish recording and then edit and then upload and then finish writing my article. I won't be asleep till 3 a.m. and I got to wake up at 7 to get ready to go do my show tomorrow morning. So unfortunately, I just had to bet those games ahead of time. I'm hoping and praying the Texans-Jaguars game and the Jets-Buccaneers game, I don't know why the odds haven't been released yet. I'm hoping they do by the time I'm finished recording at least. I guess I can just record it at the end, but by the time I'm finished recording everything else, it'd be really nice if those 2 lines came out. I was actually originally planning on going on a little bit of a rant here about society and politics after kind of what's happened over this past week. That's kind of shaken me a little bit, to be completely honest. I'm not going to do that because people don't want to hear some degenerate sports bettor who takes almost nothing seriously. You don't want to hear me rant for a long time, and if you do, you'll probably get strong opinions about it one way or the other, and I just don't want that. So I will say one thing, and then we'll just kind of get into the picks here. Both sides are unbelievable hypocrites. The hypocrisy on anyone who's passionate on both sides of any argument related to anything that could be skewed as political has completely gotten out of hand. The humanity is slowly being drained out of us through a dark hole void caused by an algorithm-driven echo chamber on social media. I beg and plead people to touch grass. Put down your phones. Go out in real life. Talk to real people. And take a chill pill. It's getting insane. and it's not slowing down. And it's truly starting to bother me. I'll leave it at that. Let's lighten things up. It's time to get into the NFL Week 3 edition of the Road to 272 Bets. Let's go. All right, let's get into Thursday Night Football. We got a doozy. It's the Buffalo Bills taking on the Miami Dolphins. It is the biggest favorite that we've seen in the NFL so far this season with the Bills. They were all the way up at 13-point favorites. It has been bet down. It looks like most. Let me just check the latest odds here. Down to 12.5 now is the best number you can get on the Dolphins. I was able to thankfully get on the Dolphins at 13, plus 13 at minus 108. By the way, I had some odds movements work my way this week, which I deserve. Because that 49ers game last week took them at minus 6.5. An hour later, the Brock Purdy injury news came out, went down to minus 3. I obviously stopped with my 6.5 bet. And they covered the minus 3, did not cover 6.5. They won by 5. Nightmare. So gambler, the gambling god, though, giveth and taketh away. This week, he giveth a little bit. I'm going to get to the picks later, but I had the complete opposite happen to me in a couple of games. And I also got a pretty good line here on the Dolphins, who, like I said, I got them at plus 13, minus 108 at Pinnacle. Right now at Pinnacle, it's plus 12, minus 107. There are still some plus 12, some plus 12.5s out there. DraftKings still has it at 12.5. I think anything above 10.5, I think I'd have to kind of go with the Dolphins. And I was going to get off the Dolphins this week. I've been kind of backing the Dolphins the past, couple weeks. I thought, the reports in the offseason about a disjointed locker room, I was saying those, were overstated a little bit. I thought week 1 was just a bad game by them. But after seeing their defense and the Mike McDaniel press conference after this past week against the Patriots, I kind of want to get off them, and I planned on it, and then I saw the betting lines, and it's 13, now 12 still. I think that's an overreaction. I would set this line at probably Bills minus 10.5. I know that's way off what the line is now, so my line probably is wrong, but I still think it should be closer than this massive spread that it's at right now. Let's take a look at some positives for the Dolphins to kind of back this claim up. They've actually done an extremely good job running the football through the first couple of weeks. They rank 4th in rush EPA, 9th in rush success rate. They're averaging 5.1 yards per carry on the ground. That's the 4th best yards per carry in the NFL so far. And they get to play against now a bad Bills run defense. The Bills have given up 6.8 yards per carry. Obviously, the bulk of that was against the Ravens in week 1, but the Jets had some success running the ball against them at times in week 2. So I think the Dolphins are going to be able to move the ball on the ground. I think they'll actually offensively be able to do some things, and that's kind of enough in terms of needing a team to just cover a big spread. If he can move the ball a little bit on the ground, as long as the Bills don't put up 40 points, which they certainly could, to be fair. Also, a number this big, there's always room for a backdoor cover if it does get out of hand. So it's ugly. It's going to be a rough watch on Thursday night, but I do think it's a little bit of an overreaction. Still like it at the 12.5. Try to get a 12.5 while you can. I'd start to question if it goes down to 11.5. I would start to question it, and I'd probably look a different way. But 12.5 if you can, 12 if you have to. If it gets down to 11.5, maybe bet the over would probably be my next recommendation. So there you go. I will take the Dolphins plus 13 minus 108 on Thursday night. Now, some of these picks are a little bit out of order because I usually go chronological, but the Texans and Jaguars is an early afternoon game, but the line's still not out for that one. So I'm going to have to skip that game and the Buccaneers-Jets, and I'll have to get back to it at the end of the show. So we move on to the Packers and the Browns. This is another game I think I got a good number on. What's it at now? No, it's at 8.5. That's what I got it at. I got it at 8.5 minus 105. That line is still available at FanDuel. So I like the Packers. The more I watch the Packers, the more I think they're actually the best team in the NFC. Do they play the Eagles this season? Let me see, because I would love to see an Eagles versus Packers game. I think that game would be fascinating. And I think, Monday night, November 10th. That's gonna be a heck of a game. Home, I bet you that's probably going to be a pick'em with the Packers at home. I'll take the Packers at that. If the Packers are 1.5 point, obviously a lot can change between now and then. My point being, Packers might be even better than the Eagles. They lead the NFL in net yards per play, plus 2.4 through the first 2 weeks. That's plus 0.4 better than the next best team. They're also 5th in EPA and 5th in opponent EPA. But what's most impressive about those numbers is their first 2 opponents have been the Lions and the Commanders. They've actually had like one of the most difficult first 2 games in the NFL, but yet they're leading in all these metrics and top 5 and all these advanced metrics. If they can do that against the Commanders and the Lions, especially after seeing what the Lions did to the Bears this past weekend, this Packers team is a problem. Is a real problem. Now, I'm tempted to bet some Packers futures, but the betting market's all over them. Like 7-1 to win the Super Bowl right now. What can you bet? Like, I'm just looking like Ravens, Packers, 13-1 to meet in the Super Bowl. No, that's no good. The value's gone. I should have I had a feeling the Packers were going to take a step forward before the season started. I probably should have just invested some more in Packers futures. I did bet Packers to win the NFC North before the season began, which looks like a pretty good bet right now. But I probably should have sprinkled some Packers Super Bowl. So now the Packers get to take on a Browns team that, this is by far the worst team that they've faced in the first 3 weeks, and the Browns offenses look bad with Joe Flacco. He's 29th in the league in EPA plus CPOE composite. They have no answer for this Packers offense. They're going to have to play extremely good defense and get something going on offense to cover the spread. So, listen, I'm going to keep backing the team that I think is the best in the NFC right now. Packers minus 8.5, minus 105. Raiders got all the way down to the goal line and forced kick a field goal. So it's hard to cover spreads against a team as good of a Chargers if you can't score touchdowns. All right, we are moving on to the Bengals and the Vikings. This is one of 2 games that I got a good number on because I bet it before the news was announced late this afternoon. I took the Bengals plus 4.5, minus 118 against the Vikings. This bet was placed before the J.J. McCarthy news. It has now been moved down to, I think it's even sitting at minus 3 right now. Are there any 3.5s out there? Let me take a look. Nope. The best number, no, plus 3. No, there's not even a 3.5 out there anymore. Still some plus 3s available. I still like it at that number with Carson Wentz at quarterback. Because, I've been trashing J.J. McCarthy a lot the past couple of weeks, especially after I was proven right about him on Sunday night against the Falcons. Vikings fans, I've ranted enough about that. I don't need to keep ranting about that. But at least J.J. McCarthy is mobile enough that he's going to be able to, move with his legs a little bit to, help the issue with their offensive line that has been banged up this season and hurt. Carson Wentz does not have that mobility, so he's just going to get eaten alive in this pocket. Trey Hendrickson's going to have a big day, I think. I might bet some props on him to finish with a couple sacks. And I am big on Jake Browning. I don't think the step down from Joe Burrow to Jake Browning is as big of a gap as a lot of people think it is. People forget when Burrow went down in 2023, Jake Browning actually performed pretty well. 4-3 as a starter. He completed 70.4% of his passes, quarterback rating of 98.4, QBR of 60.1. He is a more than capable backup. I actually think he's better than some starting quarterbacks in the league. I would start him over Spencer Rattler. I'd start him over Bryce Young right now. I'd start him over, I'm trying to think who are some other, Joe Flacco for sure. So I like Jake Browning. I'm surprised that this game is still at a field goal. I guess this is just based on the Vikings defense. But the Vikings defense can't stop the run. They have struggled now in 2 straight weeks stopping the run. The Falcons ran the ball down their throat. That used to be a run defense of this Vikings defense. It used to be a strength of the Vikings defense last year. It has not been a strength through the first 2 weeks. So I'm going to take the points here with the Bengals. I was lucky enough to get a good number before the news came out. I got Bengals plus 4.5, minus 118. I like it at 3. If it dips below 3, I'd be a little cautious. But I would take the field goal with Cincinnati at the current number. My Atlanta Falcons. I have them minus 3.5, minus 105. These odds have moved further towards the Falcons. At FanDuel now, for example, they're minus 4.5, minus 115. I'm going to have a lot of CLV this week. It was pretty smart with my bets. But you know what that means? It means I'm going to have the worst week of my season. I think that actually this past week, I got CLV, except for the 49ers. The one game that I didn't get CLV on was the one that CLV was important. And then all the other games that I got a ton of CLV, it didn't come into effect. And I just lost anyways. But Falcons, even at the 4.5, this Falcons are going to crush the Panthers this week. And I'm not being biased about this. The Panthers' offensive line has been horrific. A reason why Bryce Young has had some success in the past against the Falcons defense is their complete lack of pass rush means he's just been able to roll out the pocket, get behind the offensive line, create space for himself, find guys downfield, and even take off and run. We saw this Falcons pass rush against a banged-up offensive line on Sunday night. This Falcons pass rush is nasty. Bryce Young is not going to get time to scramble out. He's not going to be able to buy times with his legs, and he's going to get eaten alive. The Falcons defense right now leads the NFL in opponent EPA per play. I'm assuming this is not going to last the entire NFL season. 4th in opponent success rate, have 7 sacks. What a time to be alive. I mean, obviously they don't keep it up. If they do, this would be by far the best Falcons defense I've ever watched. The Panthers have not been good. I know they came back and had a backdoor cover against the Cardinals. Bryce Young has looked bad for the most part until the 4th quarter against the Cardinals. Their defense stinks. I think the Falcons should be way bigger favorites in this one. And I was right about the Falcons against the Vikings. I thought the spread against the Falcons was crazy. And I feel that way about this game too. I think the Falcons should be like 6-point favorites. Truly. I'll take the Falcons. -3.5 is what I got at that -105. I like the current line at -4.5 as well. The Rams against the Eagles. I am one more Rams win away from having to apologize and admitting I was wrong about my preseason take for the Rams. If they win this week, even if they cover the spread, I think I kind of have to apologize. I've said the Rams are going to take a step back. I've said Matt Stafford's going to regress significantly. I did not trust how injured his back was. His back seems fine. I don't know what that holistic healing table that he was laying on. Maybe I need one of those. But the Rams have looked good. Now, to be fair, they played against the Texans and the Titans. Texans, good team. Titans, not necessarily. This is going to be a real, true measuring stick. If they beat the Eagles, and I just got it hand up, I was wrong. So with that being said, I will just have to back my take that the Rams are going to regress this season one more time. I will take the Eagles -4.5 at -104. Let's see the updated lines here. It's down to 3.5, so this line has moved against me. So you can get -3.5, -108 on the Eagles now at FanDuel. I don't have the other books in front of me, but this line moved against me by a point, which is not surprising because I know the Sharps are high on the Rams this season. So maybe this is a game I shouldn't have bet this afternoon, and I should have waited to bet right before I started recording. That probably would have been the smart move. I think the Eagles' offensive line is going to be able to keep the Rams' pass rush in check. I have faith in Philadelphia. I think they can run the ball successfully in this game. But this bet is more so I'm trying not to let the first 2 weeks sway my opinion about the Rams. Week 3, most of your offseason takes should not play too big of a role. I think after week 3, you have to throw your offseason takes out the window. Most of my offseason takes have now either been changed or supported, or I'm not betting solely on that. This is one of the last games where I'm like, all right, I'm going to stick to my offseason take one more time about this Rams team. We'll see if it holds up. Eagles -4.5, -104 against the Rams. Raiders Commanders. I bet this game 20 minutes before the news broke that Jaden Daniels is questionable. Now, Jaden Daniels not ruled out yet. The betting market certainly seems so. It was Commanders -6. That has gone down to now Commanders. It's actually off the board because the Raiders are playing right now. So it was Commanders -3 or -2. I took the Raiders. I told you I had to bet the games involving these two teams before recording because I'll be up till 3 a.m. if I wait till after this game to look at the new spreads. I think I got a good line. Unless the Raiders unless Geno Smith gets hurt in this game. Even if Jaden Daniels plays, it goes back up to 6. I still like this bet. I said regression was going to come for Washington. Yes, they had a tough matchup against the Packers last week. And I know it's only 2 weeks for Jaden Daniels, but if you look at the EPA and CPOE chart, his name's down there by Bryce Young, by Caleb Williams, by Justin Fields. Not good. Not good. I think my offseason take that the Commanders are going to take a step back, that Jaden Daniels is going to take a step back this season. I know they beat up on the Giants, but I've seen enough that I'm still confident in that preseason take. So, and the Raiders, we'll see what this line opens back up at after this game and how the rest of this game goes. But their defense is still solid. Their offense isn't bad. I think 6 points is kind of crazy. If Jaden Daniels doesn't play and you're listening to this Tuesday or Wednesday and it's still 3. Sorry, Geno Smith throwing a bomb. Catch it. Oh, that's got to be pass interference. He didn't turn around. If it's still 3, I think I'd still go with the Raiders. Is it Marcus Mariota's the backup for the Commanders? Ugh. Oh, God. We've seen the Marcus Mariota experience. Yeah, I'd still take the 3 with the Raiders. I mean, Jaden Daniels carries this Commanders team. Without him, their defense isn't good. The run game isn't that impressive. Yeah, I think you have to just kind of take the points of the Raiders regardless. Jets and Buccaneers obviously don't have a pick yet for that. Let's move on to the Steelers and the Patriots. I'm going to take the over in this game. I'll go over 44, minus 110. By the way, my over bet last week, I guess I bet 2 of them. One of them hit, one of them didn't. Bills-Jets was one of the only games in the early slate that didn't go over, and of course that was one that I had the over on. But I did cash over Bengals-Jaguars. The only thing I know for sure about these two teams, because I still have a lot of question marks about them, especially offensively. Defensively, they've been horrific to start the year. Steelers ranked 29th in opponent yards per play. They give up 6.3 per snaps. Patriots have been even worse. They rank 31st in opponent yards per play. They've given up 6.6 yards per snap. They also rank 24th and 26th in opponent EPA per play. Neither defense has been good, and it's not like they face top-tier offenses. The Steelers took on the Seahawks and the Jets, and the Patriots face the Dolphins and the Raiders. So it's not like they're playing the best offenses in the league, and their defenses, their metrics have been horrific. So if that continues at all, this shouldn't be too big of an issue to go over 44. I think both teams, their offenses are better than their defenses. Let's hope this is a high-scoring one. I will take the over 44 between the Steelers and the Patriots. Colts-Titans. I'm going to be completely transparent when I tell you this. I just have to bet against the Titans at this point. The entire 2024 season, I were believers in the Titans. I said the Titans were underrated in the betting market. I said the Titans are great value. I said the Titans are much better than the record indicates. And I kept saying we're going to see regression to the mean. They're going to go on a little bit of a hot streak covering the spread to end the season. None of that ever happened. They went on to have like the worst spread record in a single season in NFL history. This year, coming into this year, I'm like, Cam Ward's way better than the market indicates. This team is actually pretty solid. They're very good defensively. They're going to pull off a couple upsets early. Bet against them both in week 1 and week 2. They didn't cover either. To be fair, they pushed in week 1. They didn't cover in week 2 against the Rams. I can't keep betting on the Titans. Like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, shame on me even more. Fool me 4 times, I'm an idiot. Fool me 5 times, I'm the biggest moron on the planet. Fool me 21 times, I deserve to be in a mental institution. I can't fall for the Titans trap again. I'm getting off. I'm taking the Colts. I have to. If I bet the Titans again and they don't cover again, I should be put in a mental institution. So I can't let that happen. I'm going to bet the Colts -3, -120. I'm going to overreact to first 2 weeks where they're probably not nearly as good as they looked in the first 2 weeks. They're probably this year's version of the Saints from last year. They're probably going to suck the rest of the year starting this week. I'm going to finally get off the Titans train. I'm going to finally jump on the Colts train, and the Titans are going to win by 2 touchdowns. Watch. It's going to happen. But even though I know that's going to happen, I simply can't bet on the Titans again. I can't do it. I have too much pride. I got to give in, and I'm thrown in the towel. I can't do it on the Titans anymore. It's an auto loss every week. I'll take the Colts. I guess I'll trust in Indiana Jones. I mean, he did snap against the Broncos. They have 6.5 yards per play this season. Best mark in the NFL, and they faced the Broncos last week. I'll take the Colts -3, -120 against the Titans. I hate it. It's going to lose because I got off the Titans. Titans are going to cover now. Watch. I guarantee it. I'm telling you, bet the Titans. Now is the time to do it. Now that I'm jumping off, you stay on. Bet the Titans. Colts -3, -120. All right, quick break. I'll be back in a minute. We'll see if we got some odds from the games involving the teams who played on Monday Night Football earlier. All right, let's keep things moving. Unfortunately, I don't know why odds makers just aren't releasing the odds for Texans, Jaguars, or Buccaneers, Jets. If it's not out by the time I'm done recording, I'm just going to have to put it in the written version of my article in the morning and, not have an audio version of those picks. Chargers also, by the way, up 17-6. So that's bet is dead. So when I do my recap, I'll figure out what my season-long record is through the first 2 weeks. All right. Saints and Seahawks. I'm going to take the Seahawks -7.5 at even money. I think you're going to hear a lot of people say this week that the Saints aren't that bad. So take the points at the Saints. I would be aware. I would be aware of that and maybe don't fall for that. I'm going to try not to fall for it. The Saints are still one of the worst teams in the NFL. I don't care that they only lost by 5 to the 49ers and 7 to the Cardinals. They are still one of the worst teams in the NFL. The Spencer Rattler ranks 26th in EPA plus CPOE. The Saints defense hasn't been any good. 22nd opponent EPA, 24th opponent success rate. Now they have to go out west. They have to take on a Seahawks team that I don't really know yet. I was low on the Seahawks offense, but then they look pretty solid against the Steelers. But is that because the Steelers defense sucks? I don't know. The jury's still a little bit out on the Seahawks offense. I do like their defense quite a bit. I think Mike McDonald is doing a good job with that defense, and I think that defense is going to smother the Saints. And I think the Seahawks are actually going to win this one pretty impressively. So I'm not falling for the Saints staying within a score the first 2 weeks. I think we'll be reminded. Intercepted Geno Smith. Perfect. No, that's perfect. I think the Saints, after this week, we're all going to be like, oh, right, the Saints are really bad. So I'll take Seahawks -7.5 at even money. Broncos, Chargers. Judging based on how this is turning into an ass-kicking in favor of the Chargers, I assume it's going to open back up actually as them as bigger favorites tomorrow. I got them at -2.5 against the Denver Broncos. I have issues with the Broncos offense. I had issues coming into the season with the Broncos offense. They're averaging just 5.1 yards per play. That's 19th in the NFL. They're in the bottom half in virtually every single advanced metric. And they play the defenses they played against are the Colts and the Titans. Not exactly elite defenses. Well, Colts defense has been good. Defensively, they look great in week 1 against the Titans, but then their defense got torched by Daniel Jones and the Colts. So what do we take away from that? Maybe their biggest advantage is when they're at their home field playing at elevation. Now they're on the road against LA. LA, based on this game, based on week 1 against the Chiefs, LA might be a problem. So I took the Chargers at -2.5, -110. Cowboys and Bears, I will take the over 48.5, -115. Earlier in this episode, I talked about taking the over between the Patriots and the Steelers because of how bad their defenses have been the first couple of weeks. Well, these two defenses have been even worse. 30th and 32nd in opponent yards per play. The Cowboys have given up 6.4 yards per play. They let 36-year-old Russell Wilson throw for 450 yards against them. And 3 touchdowns. Meanwhile, the Bears defense has given up 7.1 yards per play. They just let the Lions put up a 50-burger against them. I think I could find 10 other guys on the streets of Toronto and we'd put up 30 points against this Bears defense. Of course, I'd be starting running back. I need to find a quarterback, but that's fine. Just hand me the ball, coach. Let Booby spin. Cowboys offense has looked very good through the first couple of weeks. Dak Prescott has looked good now that he's healthy. A lot better than he did last year before he went down for the season with an injury. Obviously, the biggest question mark in betting this over is if the Bears can contribute to the total. I'm banking on them being able to. I mean, if the Cowboys secondary let Russell Wilson throw for 300 or 450 yards, Caleb Williams can throw for a couple hundred, right? Couple tutties. So yeah, I'm just gonna root for points in the Cowboys Bears. Over 48.5 -115. I will also take the 49ers -1.5 at even money. I know the 49ers did not cover the number that I had when I bet it before Brock Purdy was reported hurt. But Mac Jones basically did what I expected him to do. He's a capable backup, and especially in a very quarterback-friendly system. He's actually fifth in the NFL after his one start in EPA plus CPOE. That's better than Kyler Murray. That's better than Sam Darnold. To be fair, he did play against the Saints. But I would be a little cautious about betting on the Cardinals. The Cardinals had probably the easiest schedule to start the season, the Saints and the Panthers. And they barely covered against the Saints, and they didn't cover against the Panthers. And remember, the Saints had the ball deep in their territory with a chance to tie it up late, and so did the Panthers. So they almost blew 2 late leads against the Cardinals, or against the Panthers and the Saints to start off the season. So that's worrisome. I think the Cardinals are going to lose this one, and people are going to be a little cautious. People are going to see the 2-0. They're going to see that they covered against the Saints. People are saying, oh, Kyler Murray has looked good. I think this is going to be a rude awakening for the Cardinals, I think. I'll take the 49ers minus 1.5 at even money. Sunday Night Football, I will be taking the Chiefs, which I'm a little concerned about because the Chiefs have been known the past couple of years to not really win by margin. They, will win but not cover as favorites, and then out as underdogs they'll win. It obviously hasn't happened the first 2 weeks this season. But, I mean, it's hard to really judge, the Chiefs too harshly. This is a team who played the Chargers in Brazil in week 1, and then it played the Eagles in week 2. And, yeah, the Eagles were the better team, but it was only a 3-point game. Now the Chiefs get to take on a weak team. A team that I'm not buying into. I think we've seen too much Russell Wilson over the past couple of years to all of a sudden think he figured it out last week with his game against the Cowboys. I think that was clearly an anomaly performance. And I'll say this about the Chiefs. They're 0-2. They have a better net yards per play than they had last year when they were 15-2. Net yards per play of plus 0.5. Last year, their net yards per play was somehow in the negative, despite being 15-2. Giants, really, when you look at the advanced metrics like EPA and success rate, these two teams are right next to each other so far this year. But the Chiefs have obviously had the more tougher schedule. I think a little bit of a bounce. I don't think we're going to come out of this game being like, oh, the Chiefs are back to being the Chiefs. But I think they're gonna win by a touchdown here. I'll take Chiefs minus 5.5, minus 110. That brings me to Monday Night Football. It is the Lions against the Ravens. Let me quickly check to see if we have any odds for the other games yet. What the fuck is going on? Why aren't they releasing these odds? What the fuck? They usually release the odds within a half an hour after the game's over, and just nothing. Maybe they're waiting for both games to finish. Ugh. I can't stay up. I'm tired. I got to get up too early tomorrow. I can't. I'm just gonna have to not give a pick out for either of those 2 games. I got one more pick and then the recap, and then we'll see if something has come up. Monday Night Football, the Ravens and the Lions. I am on the Ravens, minus 5.5 at minus 105. In this one, I have said since the start of the season, I think the Ravens are the best team in the NFL, and it's not really all that close. So with that being the case, I'm not going to be afraid of betting on the Ravens minus 5.5 at home to the Lions. I think the Lions, I don't think they're as bad as they looked in week 1. I don't think they're as good as they looked in week 2. I think they have some issues that are going to pop up when they play elite team. I think they'll probably beat most teams they should beat this season. But when they play against elite teams, I think you're going to see that they have some issues. That they have some issues that are going to keep them from being that upper echelon, that elite category. I think the elite teams are the Packers, the Eagles, the Bills, and the Ravens. And that's it. And a wide gap between the next ones. And that includes, I think the Chiefs are on par with the Lions at this point. The Ravens came to life. Their defense came to life last week against the Browns. I think they continue to look good. I think they can exploit some issues with the Lions, some holes the Lions have. I will take the Ravens at home minus 5.5, minus 105. I'm still not trying to let that week 1 blown lead kind of sway my opinion on the Ravens too much. So I will take them again in this spot, minus 5.5, minus 105. So let's go ahead and recap my picks, and then I will see if these Texans and Jaguars and the other game has odds out. Actually, let me take a quick break because I do need to figure out. I'm just going to chalk this Raiders game up for a loss because there's no way they're coming back. I'm going to take a break, and I'll just pause to figure out my season-long record. Then I'll come back and recap and give best bets and teaser and survivor. All right, so with this Raiders' eventual loss of them being down, 11 points? Yeah, they're not coming back in this one. 11 points, yeah. So that brings me to 7-9 for minus 1.64 units in week 2. Total record through the first 2 weeks, 13, 18, and 1 for minus 5.17 units. We got them right where we want them. This could be a rough year. And of course, odds makers have not released odds for some godforsaken reason on Texans, Jaguars, and Jets, Bucks, despite that game ending 2 hours ago now. So I will not have official picks for you in terms of what side I'm on because I don't know what the odds are going to open back up at. I will have them in the written version. I'm going to wake up in the morning. I'll add them into the written version. So check out si.com/betting for that if you want them. I'll tell you if they open up the same as what they were before tonight's game. I will take the Texans as my underdog of the week, as a slight plus money underdog. And I will take the Buccaneers to cover against the Jets. I think it was 7, 6.5 some places, but mostly 7s before the game took place tonight. I'm hoping the Texans reopen as underdogs because one of my rules, I have to take an underdog money line every week. And I forgot, to be completely honest, until the very end. I like the Texans anyways. I think their defense is going to give the Jaguars offense a lot of fits, especially after how we're seeing Brian Thomas has been playing lately, just completely scared of the ball. I hope they reopen as plus money on the money line so I can make them my money line upset pick of the week. If not, I will take them as slight favorites, and the next week I will have to do 2 money line upsets to make up for it. So I'm sorry. I feel like once a season this happens where like I don't remember that rule until like all my bets are locked in. And then the Buccaneers, their run defense, they completely stuffed the Falcons in week 1. They completely stuffed the Texans in week 2. And now they play a Jets team who basically all they can do is run the football. So that's a disaster for the Jets. I think the Buccaneers crush them. So I'll tell you right now, those are probably going to be the teams I'm going to bet on unless the lines move crazy for some reason. I know Baker Mayfield was banged up a little bit at the end of the game, so maybe odds makers are waiting to see if he's going to be healthy for next week. Let me give one final look. Nothing there. Nothing there. Okay. Sorry. I don't have the official picks, but you can check out the written article for them, which will be released in the morning. All right, quick recaps of the bets that are locked in. I got the Dolphins plus 13, minus 108 against the Bills on Monday night. I like that down to 12. Packers minus 8.5, minus 105 against the Browns. I got the Bengals plus 4.5, minus 118 against the Vikings. I got the Falcons minus 3.5, minus 105 against the Panthers. I like that up to 5. Eagles minus 4.5, minus 104 against the Rams. Raiders plus 6, minus 110 against the Commanders. I like the Raiders if Jaden Daniels is ruled out and if the number stays at 3. Steelers, Patriots over 44, minus 110. Colts minus 3, minus 120 against the Titans. Seahawks minus 7.5, even money against the Saints. Chargers minus 2.5 against the Broncos. Cowboys, Bears over 48.5, minus 115. 49ers minus 1.5, even money against the Cardinals. The Chiefs minus 5.5 against the Giants. And the Ravens minus 5.5, minus 105 against the Lions. And then likely Texans as like even money plus 105 underdogs to the Jaguars. And likely the Buccaneers minus 7 against the Jets. 7.5 against the Jets it might reopen at. Will likely be my 2 picks there. Survivor pool. The official Road to 272 Survivor pool. If you're eliminated at this point in the season, you got to rethink your strategy. 6 people were eliminated this week. This has been the easiest first 2 weeks of Survivor I've ever seen. 3 on the Steelers, 1 on the Dolphins, 1 on the Giants, 1 on the Texans were eliminated. I could see the Steelers favorites against the Seahawks. I kind of see that. Why are you taking the Dolphins against the Patriots? Why on earth would anyone take the Giants against the Cowboys? They're like 6.5 point underdogs. What are you doing? Why? If you took the Giants in my Survivor pool, DM me as to why. Was that a mistake? Did you just think it was going to be like you think all the favorites were going to lose, so you're going to pick an underdog? Wild move. And then 1 on the Texans, which a little bit of a bold move. I could see it, but that was a bold move that obviously didn't work out. So 154 entries remain in the Road to 272 Survivor. I'm going to take this week the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home to the Jets, barring Baker Mayfield's health, because I think maybe that's why the odds for that game haven't been released yet. If Baker Mayfield's hurt, obviously I'm not going to take the Buccaneers. My second choice is probably going to be the... My second choice would be the Seahawks, which I think the Seahawks are probably going to be the most popular choice this week. So as long as Baker's healthy, I'm going to take the Buccaneers against the Jets because of that run defense against the Jets offense, and then hope that either the Saints or the Dolphins pull off the upset, because those, I think it's fair to say the Bills and the Seahawks are going to be the two most popular picks. Bills obviously by far the biggest favorite of the week, and the Seahawks the second biggest favorite, and the Seahawks are also at home to the Saints. So I'm going a little bit contrarian, but not crazy, by taking the Buccaneers at home to the Jets. They're probably going to be the third most popular pick, but I don't love a ton of other spots for the Buccaneers this season. So I think this is about as good of a stylistic matchup as they can get. The teasers this week this year are 2-0. So that's one thing that's going my way. Last week we had the Bills down to -1. We got the Cowboys out of pick'em. Cowboys pick'em. Part of the teaser was a sweat, but that did come through for us. So we're 2-0 on teasers this year. My week 3 teaser is I'm going to take the Patriots from +1.5 against the Steelers. I'm going to take that up to +7.5. That crosses both the primary number of 3, the primary number of 7, and the secondary number of 6. And then we're going to tease the Seahawks down from 7.5 to -1.5. Those cross the key numbers, just the opposite direction, both 7 and 3 and 6. If you want to get crazy and add a third teaser leg, you could do it with the Packers. You could take the Packers down from 8.5 down to 2.5. That works as well. But I'm going to stick with the Patriots up to +7.5 against the Steelers, and the Seahawks down to -1.5 against the Saints for my week 3 teaser of the week. My 3 best bets for this week, and I'm using current numbers for these picks. These are not the numbers I got them at. I'm giving you these so you can bet them or you can use them in your pick'em pool. So I'm not going to use the numbers I bet. But if you're looking to lock in your pick'em plays, these would be my top 3 based on the most current lines we have as of this second that I'm recording. Bengals +3 against the Vikings, Falcons -4.5 against the Panthers, Colts -3 against the Titans, 49ers -1.5 against the Cardinals, and Chiefs -5.5 against the Giants. So that is using the most up-to-date lines. If you want to use them for pick'em, those would be my 5 best picks. All right, thank you so much for listening and watching to this week's episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. Please rate and review the podcast if you enjoy it. That helps the audio version of this podcast quite a bit. It helps us in the rankings. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and if you feel up to it, leave a comment with your best bet for this week. And also, if you're not already subscribed to the Bacon Bets podcast on YouTube, please do that as well. The Bacon Bets podcast is something I just do on the side for fun, for practice, for a little bit of a side gig. It is difficult to kind of shoot, edit, record, post all completely by myself on top of working, 10 hours a day for Sports Illustrated. So if you could support my little side gig here, that would be very much appreciated, because I don't have the time to promote it really at all, because most of my time every single day is doing stuff for SI. So this is the life. This is the life I chose. So if you could support the show, that would mean a lot. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Gambler bless. The road to 272 bets marches on.